the electrification of America, the energy transition, the kind of blending of all the resources we're going to get power from is something we have to be cognizant of as oil and gas lawyers, as landmen, as participants in the industry. It's something that the scale of which it will happen, I think we all have questions of, but there's certainly kind of a hybrid approach to producing power at the moment. And lithium is important because that's the way right now we store power. We store it in batteries and cars that way, in the big, giant battery storage facilities that you're seeing going up throughout Texas.
Doing a ton of that right now.
It is the hot thing, right? I bet we've closed, a dozen battery storage agreements in the past 60 to 90 days. And
Yeah.
I bet we didn't close a dozen of them in the year before.
Yeah. I think we've got probably 30 battery storage projects going right now across the US.
They're everywhere, and not just Texas, right? they are everywhere.
Yeah. We're doing them all over the country.
And because of that, we are in a position where this valuable substance is now even more valuable. And we have drawn attention to the way that we got it out of the ground. And Brent, you mentioned a second ago all the images that the thought of lithium mining conjures. And the first one is top scrape mining, strip mining. And that happens primarily in China and places in South America. And that is a environmentally unfriendly way to harvest a mineral. You destroy the surface doing it, and it's hard on laborers, and it's hard on equipment, and it's hard on environments. And the great thing about what we're going to be talking about today is that brine mining, which is the extraction of useful materials that are naturally dissolved in water of high salinity, doesn't look any different from a surface impact than a water well that you'd see in rice irrigation farming. The surface impact is no different. You'll have some processing facilities associated with it, but that's about it. And I think that we are poised in Texas to lead the nation in lithium extraction from brine mining. And I'm really excited about the thought of that. You kind of had three questions a second ago. What is it? How big can it be? And what does it mean to a landman? And, I think we kind of answered, what is it? How big can it be? I really do think Texas can be the leader in it. And I think the U.S. can be a leader across the world in it. And I'm excited to see the Texas economy benefit from such a future-oriented energy storage solution.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I think it's, everything that we've heard, you hear Southern California, everybody saw the 60 Minutes, the Salt and Sea, the 60 Minutes episode. And I think that really kind of like opened a lot of people's eyes, like, wow, what could this be? And then as you really start paying attention, you start to hear about talk of the Smackover play, North Louisiana, so Southern Arkansas, East Texas. Is that kind of the part of the world where at least right now we're seeing it? Is that trend?
Absolutely. So we've had commercial brine production and extraction of lithium in parts of the United States for several decades now. There is a commercial facility in Nevada where they produce brine, but the difference will be what we call DLE, direct lithium extraction. So currently, the facility that I referenced in Nevada is a facility where they produce brine through a wellbore water well, just like you would any other water well. Then they put it in these big, giant pits. Think of what we are familiar with as, million barrel frac pits times 20. And they're shallow. They take up, the size of football fields, and it allows the water to evaporate and leaves behind the constituent elements and minerals. And the primary useful extracted mineral in that Nevada facility is lithium. The problem is you can only do that in the deserts of Nevada, right? There are very few places in the United States where it's going to rain maybe a couple of inches a year, and you're going to have the heat and the evaporation necessary to do that at an economic pace.
Okay.
In the last several years, we've had the technology for a while, but we are now commercializing it, is direct lithium extraction. And so direct lithium extraction is something that, when I say the big boys, I mean folks like Standard Lithium, Marble, the companies that have been in the brine game for a while and are now realizing that instead of going after constituent elements in minerals like bromine, that lithium is really where the money's going to be. And so the difference between evaporation ponds and direct lithium extraction is evaporation ponds are really, really large volumes. It's a 12 to 18 month process, and you treat the water with things like calcium hydroxide, sodium carbonate in order to reach your final product. A direct lithium extraction process is more of what we think of as, like a processing plant where gas is coming out of the tailgate of the plant. That's the most analogous kind of footprint that I can think of. So it's a processing facility. The lithium is absorbed with, and people use lots of different materials to absorb it, but lithium is kind of separated by adding a material to this processing patented process, and everybody's kind of secretive about what they use right now. And but then it's ultimately washed with hydrochloric acid, and that gives you the final product. And the difference is that you can do that in a matter of hours and not a matter of months. And I think that's what's going to take places that have large amounts of lithium in their brine water, like Cass County, Texas, and Southwest Arkansas, that whole region that lies on top of the Smackover, into commercial viability quantities of lithium, which we just haven't been able to do for years and years. We've all heard in the oil and gas business before about the Smackover formation, not a new formation.
Yeah.
It's produced oil and gas. I think the first commercial well was drilled in that formation in the 1920s. It's produced commercial oil and gas quantities forever.
Oh,
and
God,
when you hear about a bunch of these old guys that have been in the formation forever, you think of those conventional vertical players in that deep East Texas, Southwest Arkansas, kind of Magnolia area, real oilmen, right? The guys that roll down their window just enough to be heard, not enough to let any of the air conditioning escape, kind of folks. When you see them in the field, those guys talked about the Smackover as, quote, a sea of water with a little bit of oil. And I think now we're all seeing the benefits of it being a sea of water. And to put this into a better context, the kind of what they call the golden triangle of lithium at the moment is the confluence of three borders: Bolivia, Argentina, and Chile. And that area right now, you see commercial concentrations of lithium in the brine that's coming up as around 400 to 600 milligrams per liter. And that's like the gold standard across the world. Standard Lithium, which operates in Cass County as Cass County Brine, re-entered a well outside of McLeod, which, for those of you not from that area, you'll look down and you'll see MCLEOD spelled and pronounce it McLeod, and the locals call it Cloud.
In true East Texas fashion.
And they re-entered a well, and their initial results in March of 2023 were, I believe, 643 milligrams per liter. So right on par with the golden.
That's world class. Yeah.
World class resource. The difference between the Golden Triangle and East Texas is the amount of rainfall they get, right? I mean, the Chilean desert gets a lot less rainfall than East Texas. And so you can't use evaporation ponds in East Texas like you could in the Golden Triangle. And so now that we have, DLE technology that's going to allow us to extract it with a plant instead of a big evaporation pond, that resource becomes just competitive on an international level